Hello everyone. I am Ellen Cinco, your teacher in bread and pastry production. Our topic for the second quarter is prepare pastry products. On this slide is the kernel of wheat, sometimes called the wheat berry. The kernel is a seed from which wheat plant grows. Each tiny seed contains the three distinct parts that are separated during the milling process to produce flour. We have endosperm, the bran, and the germ. The endosperm consists of 83% of the kernel weight and it is the source of white flour. The endosperm contains the greatest share of protein, carbohydrates, and iron, as well as the major B vitamins. The bran makes up to 14.5% of the kernel weight. Bran is included in whole wheat flour and can be bought separately. The germ is about 2.5% of the kernel weight. The germ is the embryo or sprouting section of the seed, often separated from flour in milling because the fat content, which is 10%, limits flour shelf life. You can buy or purchase the germ separately and is part of the whole wheat flour. These are the kinds of the flour. We have the white flour, we have the whole wheat flour, we have the whole wheat pastry flour, and the all-purpose flour. Baking ingredients and their functions. The main ingredients of a pastry product is the flour. Flour is a powdery substance produced by finely grinding grain through a process called milling. The classification of flour is based on the amount of protein that each type contains. So, protein determines the gluten strength of the flour. The gluten gives the dough its shape and form. Okay, there are different types of flour. We have bread flour, has the highest amount of protein, thus has high gluten content. So it is used for breads. Bread flour is creamy in color and is rather rough and granular. Cake flour, sometimes called soft flour as it is milled from soft white wheat. It is described as weak because the product made from it are tender and delicate in texture. All-purpose flour is another kind of flour. Is made from a combination of bread and cake flour sources and has medium gluten strength. It is suitable for almost any baking purposes. So from cookies to other baking pastry products, and the common flour is the all-purpose flour. Self-rising flour is another kind of flour. It contains baking powder and salt. It is ready to mix. So we have example of self-rising flour in our market today. The hot cake mix is one. So in the hot cake mix, you just add the egg, the water, and the oil, the shortening. So you have a ready flour in which you don't need to add baking powder or salt or sometimes the sugar is added on it. That is self-rising flour. Another another kind is the rye flour. Has a distinctive flavor, many people like it, and it contains no gluten. In the Philippines, we have no rye flour. So the care and storage of flour is very important. Number one, flour should be stored in a high ventilated room free from insects and rodents. Number two, flour should be kept away from products with strong aromas such as spices and onions. Number three, Use the oldest flour first. First in, first out. Number 4, flour should be kept in a dry tin or glass container in a cool, dry place. Another kind of ingredients is the shortening. Shortening is another word for fat used in baking. The taste of the baked product depends greatly on the flavor of the shortening. The effects of shortening on baked products. It surrounds the gluten in the dough, so it shortens the strands and makes it more tender product. Number 2, the shortening makes the product lighter and greater in volume. So it oils the structure also of the product so it is easier to chew and swallow. It helps prolong the shelf life of baked goods. Desirable qualities of shortening. So, number 1 desirable qualities of shortening is the plasticity. Readily mixed, work, or spread. So, waxiness. What is waxiness? It is soft and smooth. Pleasant in odor. So, no odor at all. So, there are some shortening nga baho, bati gamiton, no? So, pleasant flavor. So, no unnecessary flavor. So, these are the qualification of shortenings. So, there are kinds of shortening. So, we have here butter, the oil, the vegetable oil, the corn oil, the sesame oil. That's an example also of shortening. We have the butter. So another ingredient is sugar. Sugar is the responsible for the attractive golden brown color of baked products. It contributes to the development of good food flavor and aroma. There are kinds of sugar. The ultra-fine is used for cakes and cookies. Sometimes this sugar is called baker's special. Granulated sugar is the sugar commonly found on the table at home. Powdered sugar is frequently called confectioner sugar because it is used in making frostings and icings. In your crinkles, I suppose every one of us knows what is crinkles. The powdery, white powdery covered of the crinkles is called the powdered sugar. Same with the donuts. The donuts in Dunkin' Donut, ang gigamit is the powdered sugar. Brown sugar is often called soft sugar because of its moisture content. Its color may vary from light to dark brown. So the effects of sugar in baking. So it tenderizes the gluten. It makes browner, crisper crust. It helps baked products stay fresh longer because it retains the moisture. So that's the functions of sugar. The leaveners. What are the leaveners? Leavener or leavening agent is a substance used in baking to make a product rise so it becomes light a proportion to its size. Leavening agents produce a gas that expands when heated. So the kinds of leavening agent. So air. The air is an example also of a leavener. Air works as a leavener because it expands when heated. It can be incorporated in the product by beating, folding in beaten egg whites, sifting the flour, creaming the shortening. The steam is considered to be the most powerful leavener. Water changes to steam when heated, causing the mixture to rise. So, an example of that is the putu cheese. So you have a batter in which flat lang siya, but when you steam the puto cheese, matingala lang mo nga muburot siya, mabuak ang tunga. So that's another kind of leavener. The chemical leavening agents is The certain chemicals react to moisture and heat to form carbon dioxide, such as the baking soda, a leavening that reacts to acid to produce carbon dioxide, the baking powder, most widely used in leavener because of its sure results. Yeast is another kind of leavener. So, is a single-celled plant that feeds on starch and sugar. It is different from one leavening agents because it is alive. In our breads, we use yeast as our leavening agent. So there are two types of commonly used yeast. We have compressed yeast, also called cake yeast. It can be stored for 4 to 5 weeks in a refrigerator. Dry yeast is commonly used nowadays. It is the granular and darker in color than cake yeast. It is purchased in a sealed packs or envelopes to ensure freshness. Liquids. What are these liquid ingredients? We have water. So water gives texture to baked items, especially breads and rolls. So the texture of a baked product is coarse and chewy if water is used instead of milk. So the milk also is another ingredient, is another liquid ingredient. So has definite functions in baking. It gives finer, more velvety grain. It adds flavor. It helps the product stay longer. Eggs is another ingredient in baking pastry products. So eggs perform important functions in cakes that other ingredients cannot do. So eggs are essential because they maintain tender, the structure of the cake or baked product. Eggs hold together the other ingredients during mixing and baking. So other ingredients are the flavorings and spices. So one of these is salt. Salt is essential in producing a satisfactory yeast product. It gives a finer texture to bread and removes flatness or lack of flavor in it. Chocolate and cocoa are highly prized for their flavors, so aroma and deep brown color. Fruit and flavors and spices are extracts from the base of fruits. They add pleasant odor to the baked product. And that ends our topic for today, the baking ingredients and its function. Hope to see you soon, and God bless everyone.